Hello and welcome into Talk Illini with the Orange and Blue News Network. Well, website. I almost said network. The network we're a part of is the On3 Network, and we're glad to have you here as we have some fun fact or fiction in this episode. So we got some fact or fiction for both football and basketball. Going to serve that up to you today, and make sure you let us know in the comment section. Do you think it's fact? Do you think it's fiction? Let us know. We would love to respond. Get your thoughts as well. We have with us Sonny Verma and Carson Bounds today. Bonds or Bounds? I'm saying it wrong.
Carson Bounds, you got it.
Okay, Bounds. All right. JR, next time, do your homework on how to say people's names. So I won't screw up next time. We'll get it right. So appreciate everybody being here with us. If you could, please do like, subscribe. Okay, we need to get this channel up there a little bit more. Tell everybody you know about the Talk Illini YouTube channel. You're going to find great content here. We've got some recruiting stuff coming up. We're going to have good basketball content coming this season. We were kind of just ramping up once we started the channel, but it's going to be really good as we get going even more. Just did a Know Your Foe episode with Spencer Holbrook over there at Letterman Row, the On3 affiliate for Ohio State. So go do check that out. It was really good. And Spencer and I talked through a couple weaknesses the Big Ten or the Ohio State Buckeyes might have that Illinois could possibly exploit. So we're going to go with football here first, and we're going to give Sonny the honors of giving his fact or fiction first, and then Carson, we're going to put the pressure on you to have to answer first. Go ahead, Sonny.
Again, just for you watching for the first time, the concept of this is I'm going to make a statement and then we decide whether that statement is fact or fiction. I'm going to start with this big matchup we have this upcoming Saturday. The number one team in the entire country, the national champions, Ohio State Buckeyes, come to Champaign. Big noon kickoff is here. The spread is currently 14.5. Now, it opened up at 14.5, then it got as high as 16.5, and I've seen it's kind of crawled back down to 14.5. So that's the number. So, gentlemen, I ask you, let me phrase it this way for the sake of fact or fiction. Fact or fiction, Illinois covers the 14.5-point spread.
Man, that's a tough question. I don't think Illinois covers the spread. We'd love to see Illinois win, but Julian Sand is having a really strong start to his season. I was looking earlier today at some advanced metrics from PFF on him, and his completion under pressure is graded at a 90.5. He has one of the highest PFF grades for a quarterback in the country. He has the highest grade in the country for throws of 20 plus yards. It's a 98, which PFF only is out of 100. So one of the highest scores of all time. The kid is really good, both completing passes under pressure and in a clean pocket. So I think we're going to have a hard time disrupting him, and I think we're just going to have a hard time stopping him on defense. I think we could possibly score the ball, but we have to stop Ohio State's offense at some point if they want to win, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
I think the best strategy here in order to cover the spread is to slow the Ohio State offense down. I'm with you, Carson. I do think there is a possibility of being able to score on this Ohio State defense. They've not let up a red zone touchdown all season, but as we know, Illinois has done a good job of scoring on the big plays. That's how Ohio scored against them, and that's how Texas scored against them. So maybe we get Hank Beatty on a good matchup there in the slot, hit him on the outside, and maybe the Ohio State's bringing a blitz or something, and he's just able to take off and get a 40, 50-yard touchdown pass. That would be excellent. Get one or two of those and you're up there at 17, 14 points. And if you can slow down this Ohio State offense, just don't do what PJ Fleck did, okay? If you watch that Minnesota game, PJ Fleck decided, hey, I'm going to play one cover one on this Ohio State offense with the best wide receivers in the nation. Great job, PJ. That was not that was not a way of not getting blown out in that game, and obviously Ohio State took advantage of it. But I do think Brett Bielema could throw out a cover 3 or something in this scenario, and you might see them slow it down. Ohio State's not been great with the big plays in the run game, so you force Ohio State to throw the ball or to run the ball a little bit more. Might be a little bit more of a slower game, and I think Illinois does stand a better chance in that type of matchup. I do think Illinois covers, but only if they're able to execute and really slow down Ohio State's offense. If they don't, yeah, they're not covering, and Ohio State's going to win this one.
Yeah, I'm not very optimistic, and maybe now that I go back on it, we probably should have saved this for later. We're asking Illini fans to subscribe to this channel, and all three of us are like, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. 14 and a half, to me, I'll be honest, I thought that spread was a little lower than I would have probably made it. It's just unfortunate that Ohio State's strength, which is that defense, which is one of the best defenses in recent memory, just happens to align with Illinois. The only way Illinois wins this game is through our offense. But when that offense is going up against the country's best defense, I just think that too many things need to go right. I think there is a game script where Illinois can win. Luke Altmaier, they've got to hold on to that ball. They've got to have like 70% of the time of possession. If it's fourth down on your own 45, go for it. If it's short yardage, keep the ball. Get it out of the Ohio State hands. But again, you're just counting on a little too many things. And, I just got finished watching Ohio State all 22 2 nights ago. And I thought the Duke defensive line was good. And I was nervous about the Indiana defensive line. Guys, this one, these guys are, I was looking at 5 NFL guys on that defensive line. And so you're talking about, we saw the struggles that the offensive line had against Indiana. It made a mockery of that game. And I'm fearful that that's going to happen again on Saturday. I hope not. But again, if I had to guess fact or fiction that Illinois covers 14 and a half points, my logic tells me that they don't.
Yeah, I was just reading something the other day from one of the draft analysts, and he said that he expects every single starter on this Ohio State defense to, at the very least, play in the NFL. Their slot corner, and the one I referenced, Lorenzo Styles, is probably the most questionable of them, but right now he thinks all of them are going to at least get a shot in the NFL, and that's a scary proposition to go up against. So, Carson, we're going to go to you now, and I'll answer your fact or fiction first. What is your fact or fiction about the football team?
Yeah, so my fact or fiction is I think Ca'lil Valentine, our third string running back starting the season, is going to finish the year as Illinois' leading rusher. Right now, he has 323 rushing yards on 61 carries. Caden Fagan, who was RB1 to start the year, still technically has 79 carries, so he still has the bulk of the workload for 316 yards. So Ca'lil already has the edge in fewer carries. He's more efficient on the ground. We've seen, especially running inside zone and cutting through the A and B gaps, his jump cut, he's way better at getting separation and getting an extra yard or two. Caden's a little bit better in space, I'd say. It depends on the defense as we see the rest of the year, but I have a hard time seeing how Ca'lil doesn't finish as our leading rusher this year.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Aiden Lawfrey is supposed to be back for this game, right?
I mean, he was supposed to be back last game. With Brett Bielema, you just kind of never know. Now, I mean, just an hour before we started recording here, Brett Bielema had his own radio show where he did say that both Daniel Brown and Aiden Lawfrey practiced this week. But again, Brett is he learned a lot from his stays in the NFL, and this just happens to be one of them. Don't disclose information that you don't have to disclose. So again, Aiden wasn't even on the availability report last week, yet he didn't take a single snap. So it's one of those where I think he's going to play, but I don't know.
Yeah, that was my thing, is I was like, okay, if he's not on the availability report, he did reference him as somebody who's practicing this week. So I was like, okay, maybe, but you're right, Sonny. Brett, he just kind of does what he wants to do with, secrets and the shush shush. So I think if nothing else, with the injury history of Aiden Lawfrey and Caden Fagan, obviously I'm not wishing injury on either of them. I think they're both great backs, and I think that both of them, if they played the entire season, would have very good seasons. But with that kind of happening, and with the question of Aiden Lawfrey coming back, and with, like Carson said, how good Ca'lil Valentine has been, I think this is probably the best fact that we have here in at least football, maybe in basketball as well. I mean, you look at him, the way he runs, how much Brett seems to trust him as well. He just had a career high in rushing yards this past game, nearly 100 yards on the ground, and I think that just gives you more and more confidence in him. Now, the fumble, maybe, but I believe he was the one that had kind of the questionable fumble, right? It was Fagan.
Caden Fagan had the one that wasn't a fumble. It wasn't a questionable. It was not a fumble.
I didn't think it was a fumble at all.
JR, we can say it was not a fumble.
I was gonna say I didn't think it was a fumble at all, but I was like, what in the world is going on here? So maybe the fumble that Valentine had might affect his carries. If that's the case, it could possibly eat into this. But right now, he looks like the healthiest, the freshest, and the best running back in this backfield. And so I gotta say fact.
And I'm gonna piggyback on that. I think this is a fact too. Those of you who watch me on Locked On, I do a flag player every episode or every season, and that's basically me planting a flag on who I think people are overlooking. And I wanted so bad to pick Ca'lil Valentine. I thought he jumped out at you last season as a freshman. Like he was just different. He's got better vision than the other running backs. And I know, JR, you referenced that fumble, but again, like as you mentioned, Caden Fagan also fumbled 2 weeks ago. And that game was 2 weeks ago, right? And last week, Ca'lil had.
Right. I thought you were referencing the last one. That's why I did the quotes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Ca'lil had 22 rushes for 95 yards. So obviously Brett got over it. I just think that when you watch the tape, when you look at this offensive line, Caden's style does not align well with the holes that this offensive line is giving you. Ca'lil is the type of player who can scan the offensive line and move in one direction or another based on what's happening in front of him. I don't know if Caden is necessarily that type. Aiden Lawfrey is as good of a running back as the other two, but again, he's a different style, and I just don't know his availability. So, for the context of this question on who's going to have the most yardage out of these three, I mean, quite honestly, like two of these guys could reach 1,000 yards if we're being really honest. All it takes is one or two big games from either Caden or Ca'lil. But if I had to pick who I think is going to have the most yardage at the end of the season, I really do think that last week's win against Purdue was Ca'lil Valentine's coming out party. And he, whether it's official or unofficial, he's going to be the RB1 moving forward.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I think that you guys both make great points with that, and I think that we're looking at a new RB1. Even if he doesn't start the games, he's probably going to be getting the bulk of the carries in these ones. So, all right, I have my football fact or fiction, and I was gonna say like 9-3 or up, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say exactly 10-2. Illinois will finish the season in football 10-2 this season. Sonny, we'll go to you first. Fact or fiction?
This is so tough. I wish you had gone with 9-3. Obviously, you're looking at 10-2. You've already lost that game against Indiana, and more than likely, you're going to lose on Saturday. Now, the good part is that the gauntlet part of your schedule, for the most part, is done and over with. And quite honestly, I mean, I think Washington's probably a 50-50 in regards to who's going to be favored in that game. But after Washington, you should be favored in every game from there on out. That doesn't mean you're going to win them. Illinois had that loss against Minnesota last year. There's always seemingly an unexpected game that ends up being tougher than you want it to be, and that's included in the Brett Bielema era. I just think the number that you picked, 10-2, leaves no margin of error. And that game at Washington is going to be really tough. I mean, Ohio State just won there 2 weeks ago, but they'd won the 22 previous games at home. That Husky Stadium, it's a tough place to play. I do think that Illinois can pull it off, but if you're asking me to say they're going to win that and every game following that, it's just a tall task. So at 10-2, unfortunately, I have to say it's fiction.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off that. I think there's just too many games that could be toss-ups, especially late in the season. Maryland is one that I look at. Malik Washington has been a stud of a quarterback for the Terrapins. I have trouble seeing a clean slate the rest of the way, even if Illinois manages to beat Ohio State on some miracle. I think it's going to be very tough. Washington, Maryland, you can maybe throw like Northwestern is competitive every couple of years. So we're 2 years removed from them ending our season, so we didn't go to a bowl game. So it's totally possible. Like, I have a hard time seeing 10-2, but it's not impossible. Like, I'd say fiction for now, but let's see how competitive we are against Ohio State. If it's a 6-10 point game, I don't know how many teams in the conference are capable of staying within 10 points of Ohio State. I think that'll be a good litmus test of this team moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I also want to see how Washington does this weekend against Rutgers as well, right? Because they lose that game to Ohio State, and maybe there's something going on there, and the home field environment isn't as strong as it has been. I don't think that's the case, but we'll have to see how this Rutgers Washington game goes this weekend. So I'm with you, Sonny. If it was 9-3, I would say fact, but moving on up to maybe I should have just said 10 wins, right? Because you go 9-3, you win the bowl game, boom, bada bing, bada boom, we're right there again at 10-3. So maybe Maybe that's what I should have said. All right. Sonny, should we start with you on the basketball, or is your fact or fiction too hard? Should we go to Carson instead?
I started last time, so I think someone else should start this time.
Okay, Carson, you get to start this time. Fact or fiction for the basketball team? Go ahead.
All right. So I was debating going into this. I want to do something related to one of the freshmen. Brad Underwood has been hyping up Keaton Wagler, so I don't feel like it's fair to put too much pressure on him. So let's look at the other one, Brandon Lee. I think Brandon Lee will play 10 plus minutes a game this year. Brad compared him to Andres Feliz. If he's anything remotely close to that, as far as effort and hustle goes on the floor, even if he's not an offensive powerhouse to start the year, I could see 10 minutes a game, especially when you get down the home stretch of the season.
Yeah, I mean, like, I want to say fact based off like what Brad Underwood has said about him, right? But just as we were talking about before we came in here, Brad Underwood does this thing where he kind of hypes up players and makes you feel really good about them, which I think is good overall for the thoughts of the players and the thought of the future. But it does kind of disappoint sometimes when maybe a player isn't getting as many minutes as we thought before. So I do think I'm gonna say fiction here because of the trend and the way things have gone. But I've watched a little bit of Brandon Lee. I've seen some of his highlights and some of the stuff he does. He's a good basketball player, and he honestly could find himself a role on this team. And especially if you find some of the injuries and stuff that always seem to pop up every season in basketball, you could find him getting those 10 plus minutes, for certain games. I just don't know if it's going to happen enough to get the average for it. So I'm going to say fiction, but I'm really kind of in the middle with this one.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I think I'm leaning towards fiction as well. I think if this becomes a fact, it could be because something bad happened. I think if you're counting on Brandon to play 10 plus minutes, that means Kylan's not on the floor, or Mahalo's not on the floor, or Keaton is not on the floor. And I think those three are the clear 3-guard rotation that Brad Underwood's been talking about. It's funny he brought up Andre Feliz, like, one of my favorite all-time Illini. So that's very, very high praise. But then I just have to keep in mind who gave that praise, and that's Brad Underwood, who has you convinced, Mark Smith is Jason Kidd, and all the other hyperbolic comparisons he's had in the past. I think Brandon Lee's going to be a good player, but if I had to figure out what the rotation is going to be, the season starts next month, I don't think that he would be in the top 8 or the top 9. And so I think he's going to be a guy who might play a decent amount in the non-conference, at least against the bad teams. I mean, Illinois does have a pretty tough non-conference schedule. But I think overall his average is going to be under 10 minutes, not because he's a bad player, but simply because, this team is so veteran focused. They've got a lot of veterans on this team who deserve to play. And we're going to try to win a Big Ten championship this year. And so I don't think this is the year to let a guy like Brandon play more than he necessarily needs to. Let him get better battling against Kylan Boswell in practice.
It's definitely one way to get better. Go up against, for my money, the best defender in the Big Ten. And that's actually where we're going to go with my fact or fiction, Kylan Boswell. Now, a lot of times you don't get defense appreciated enough when you go through and you do some of these rankings. I just did my top 25 Big Ten players. Got some hate for Eric Daly being down at 24 and some other guys not being as high, as you always do when you do these rankings. But I did have Kylan Boswell up there as my number 9 guard in the Big Ten. I did not get as much pushback as I thought I was going to get, just because, like I said, people don't seem to value defense enough in those situations. But I think having that lockdown defender is very, very valuable. So, guys, my fact or fiction is Kylan Boswell is a top 10 guard in the Big Ten this season.
I'll go first here. I think top 10 is almost disrespectful. I think Kylan legitimately has a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be there, but if he's not all Big Ten, he's going to be right outside. He's the guy who, if you guys recall, he was arguably the best player on the team at the end of the year. Once he kind of took over, when Kasparis obviously was having issues, ball handling, and Kylan took control of that team. I just did an episode on this. I think he averaged something like 17 points a game. Again, he was just spearheading, attacking the rim, which is exactly what you want him to do. And on a team that is going to be so offensively focused, you have him as one of your defensive stalwarts. I think this is absolutely a season. Kylan Boswell, Brad Underwood talks about him, I believe, more than anybody else this offseason, about how really locked in Kylan is. He had a tumultuous experience out in Arizona. He's come to Champaign, and you can tell that he's taken this very seriously. And he understands that there's a chance this is going to be his last year playing college basketball. And, he's come home. I think there's a universe out there where Kylan averages something like 15, 5, and 5 and is an all defensive player. And that, in my opinion, is good enough to make an all Big Ten team. And so for me, he's absolutely a top 10 guard in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off that. I'm not quite as bullish as you are, Sonny, but I do agree. I think top 10 is fair. I would probably have him in that like 6 to 8 range personally. So, not quite top 5, but I think he's a very good guard. Like you said, end of last season, I was at the Xavier game for the NCAA tournament, and he was lights out in the moments he needed to be. Lockdown defense. He can guard the other team's best player, and that is a skill that we don't talk enough about, especially because, I'm a little under 6 foot. I'm 5'11". I've been next to Kylan. He's not much taller than me. He's maybe 6'1". He could guard a guy that's 6'5", 6'6", and give him an off night. And that is unbelievably hard to do, especially in the Big Ten. So defense alone, I think he's a top 10 guard. And then, like you said, if he's averaging 15, 5, and 5, or he could even be like 12, 4, and 4, and it's still, I think that's easily a fact.
I'll also mention one more thing. At Illini Big Ten Media or Illini Media Days last week, Brad Underwood and Kylan Boswell himself talked about how he was as good of a defensive player last year, but he could be a better one this year because the new defensive coordinator, Cameron Crocker, their new assistant coach that they hired to focus on defense, the style that he's building is towards Kylan's strengths. Now, JR, you and I last season, we talked a lot, and one stat you always brought up with Illinois was they never take the ball away. They never steal the ball. Mm-hmm. Now, Cameron Crocker, he is focused. He understands that sometimes you have to take more risk. And so Kylan's words about how they're kind of building an offense that lets him be him a little bit more tells me that, again, that fantastic defender we saw last year could be even better this season.
Love it. I love that I'm the lowest one on him here because I thought, man, I'm going to get some flack from some people having him this high, but not from you guys. So I will take the praise and the flack that I didn't have him high enough. All right, Sonny, end it here with your basketball fact or fiction.
Okay, well, it's Big Ten Media Week, so that means all the award lists or the preseason awards are coming out, and there's a lot of controversy that I believe it was on Monday that the preseason all Big Ten preseason team came out, and 10 guys were listed, and there was not a single Illini amongst them. And now, again, I thought, you know what, I'll reserve my opinion until after I hear your guys's. But fact or fiction, there's going to be an Illini on the first or second all Big Ten team at the postseason, like after the season is all over.
Go ahead, Carson.
I think this is a fact. I mean, if this team is remotely close to what fans expect, you don't win 20-plus games and not have an all-conference player. Just by default, Tomislav Ivisic, Milo Pacevic, one of them is going to be an all-conference player, or Stojakovic. All three of them are capable of it. Do I think any of them are going to be first team? I don't know. One of them would probably have to separate from the pack for that to happen. But I think we're capable of having 2, if not 3 guys that are second to third team caliber easily.
Yeah, Sonny, when you said that earlier, I was like, I thought I just saw him on a team earlier, and it was USA Today. They had him on the second, or they had Stojakovic on the second team All Big Ten, which I think is a good placement for him. But I also think Tomislav Ivisic is another one that's going to earn the spot up there, possibly in the in the postseason All Big Ten team. So I went to the Big Ten here, and they pretty much have all the same ones as USA Today, and I'm not trying to downgrade this player here. That's not the purpose. I'm just doing a comparison really fast. Who would you rather have on your team, Andrei Stojakovic or Jackson Shelstad?
You mean the guy who threw 18 points a game in the ACC, and he's coming over to a system that fits his game a little bit more? I'm taking Andrei Stojakovic. Of course I am.
Yeah. Carson, you too?
You see, that's tough. Shellstad brought Oregon back into a lot of games last year. But at the end of the day, it's Andrei Stojakovic. He's more athletic. He gets to the rim. He can shoot. I think he just brings more to the court than Shellstad could.
See, and I hear that argument as well, but my thing with Shellstad last year was that he was so inconsistent. He was one of the reasons why he had to bring him back into games, right? You guys, I mean, like, it's like a firefighter goes into the house, starts the fire, and then he comes out and he puts the fire out. It's like, look at how great I am. It's like, no, dude, stop starting fires and we'll be just fine. So I'm not trying to disparage the guy. Obviously, he has a big clutch bone in his body to be able to do what he does, but just some of the inconsistency of Shellstad. We'll see Andrei Stojakovic, obviously, in the Big Ten. You never know with moving over conferences, but even if it's not Stojakovic, I think, like you, Sonny, Kylan Boswell is going to be an all Big Ten defensive team at the very least. And then Tomislav Visic, I think people are sleeping on him. I think last season you saw a lot of Kasparis, you saw a lot of Will Riley, and those were kind of the big names. I think this season, Brad and these guys are really going to try and showcase more of Tomislav Visic, not in a bad way, not like he's going to be the only thing the offense focuses on, but they see the talent, they trust him more, and they're going to work more toward that.
Yeah, for me, I know we're talking a lot about Andrei Stojakovic, but like if I had to rank guys who I think were going to be on the All Big Ten team, quite honestly, Stojakovic would be third for me. For me, I can't fathom how Tommy Visic isn't on this list. In my opinion, he's the best center in the Big Ten Conference. I can understand an argument for Nate Biddle, but I would take Tomislav for everything that he's going to be counted on. He's basically taken on a leadership role with this team. He shot 40% from three the last month and a half from the season. He's the only guy who showed up against Kentucky. He single-handedly was carrying this team in the tournament. And I just knowing, he's got his brother with him now. I think his averages are all going to go up. The offense, like he's kind of a point center when it comes to Illinois' offense. A lot of it, especially at the end of the year, was run between just give and goes between him and Will Riley. Tomislav is a cheat code in that regard. And so for me, the fact that he's not on this list, and Carson, I think you kind of said it perfectly. Illinois has a streak of 6 straight years of winning 20-plus games. This Illinois team's projected to finish fourth in the conference. Let's just say that's what they do. Let's just say that's what their standard is. They win 20-plus. They finish fourth in the conference. That team is going to have a guy that's going to be on the All Big Ten team. And for me, the Visic slander needs to stop because he's a fantastic center and he needs more love from the national media, apparently.
Well, and to your point, Sonny, we all remember what happened in Eugene last year when Illinois went out there. What was it, New Year's Day or the day after New Year's Day? I think it was. Oregon suffered their biggest home loss of the season.
Yeah. And
that was the one that really got us excited about Illinois basketball last year.
Yeah, and I was actually early on this. Right before he got hurt, I called Tommy Visic the MVP of last year's team. I just think that he did so many things for that Illini basketball team. By a month or two later, a lot of other Illini fans were also saying the same thing, calling him that. But I just saw what he did and how valuable it was so early in the season, and it just makes me want to pull my hair out right now that we're one season in. We've already seen what he's capable of doing, and still. Again, he's not being respected as much as he should be. I think it's as close to a lock for me that Tomislav is going to be all Big Ten. If not first team, then for sure second team. Unless something really bad happened.
Always got to preface it with that. Unless terrible things happen,
right.
Everything we think will happen will happen. So, all right, guys. Hey, great kind of round table with the Fact or Fiction here. Really excited for Illini basketball coming back just next month. Like you said, Sonny, it's coming. Big Ten Media Days this going to be released on the day of Big Ten Media Day starting. So, definitely go over there. Check out Big Ten Network. I'm sure they'll have some of that coverage and everything. I believe they had the Women's Big Ten Media Days just yesterday, and I think we have a media session of Shauna Green up on the channel, right, Sonny?
It's not up yet, but it's in the process.
Okay, so yeah, that will be up. You can see that as well, and really good stuff. Anything else you guys want to get to before we get out of here?
No, it's just nice. Like I always consider media days for football the unofficial kickoff of football season, and so now it's the same with basketball. Now we can start talking basketball more on this channel. So again, this is a brand new channel, guys. If you stumbled across this and you're an Illini fan, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like this particular video, because we're going to have more and more Illini content for you guys. And it's just stay tuned.
For sure. And like I said, recruiting stuff coming up here with Carson. We'll have live game recaps. You know, there's more possibility of that happening during basketball season, which is kind of the way things go on the weekends and stuff. So you guys will definitely get more content as we start, getting up and brewing here a little bit more. So you definitely want to be locked in. Hit that subscribe button. There's also a hype option now. So hype us up. Let them know this brand new channel. Sometimes people don't realize how big this Illini fan base is, and just how powerful the Illini fan base is. So let them know, hype up the video, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We appreciate everybody being here. Go check out Orange and Blue News. You can read all the great content over there. Doug, Carson, writing great stuff. You can be way more informed and just be a more informed, better Illini fan for it. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.